You are tuning into the Wild Folk Podcast.
It's really, really intense. And it happened the first time I tried to go completely raw vegan because I was basically surviving on kale salads and green juices and smoothies and chia drinks and 4 or 5 cow pods in my coffee every morning and a jar of sunflower seed butter. And that was what I was eating because I thought it was healthy and it's super trendy and it's really easy to get. And I was sick every day. I thought I had a low-lying infection. I thought I had something going on in my blood. I was having what I realize now are the symptoms of liver failure, the signs. I thought that's what happens when you eat healthy. You just have these things happen and body responses that are basically your organs shutting down.
And if you think about like the quality, like the thickness and the density of that food, like it's meant to be eaten in a very small amount. And so eating that much it's really gonna slow down the function of your liver because it's jammed up. It's having to deal with so much of that like thickness. And that's another thing is like, because I ate the same way as you. I think we even like first connected on that. Like,
oh yeah, we ate exactly the same.
Yeah. And I would live off smoothies and by the end of like this time, you know, I was studying Ayurveda. I was seeing practitioners. Every time I saw an Ayurvedic practitioner or an acupuncturist, they were like, you have no stomach acid. Like you have no heat in your stomach to be able to digest these things. And you're dumping cold liquid in a stomach that is already like energetically like cold. It doesn't have the stomach acid to break it down. So it's like cold, damp on top of like this cold, damp environment. And it's just putting out like in Ayurveda, your digestive fire. Like we have this stomach fire, it should be really like acidic. We should have the stomach acid that like breaks things down. But if it can't do that, then not only is it not breaking down your food, but when pathogens come in like viruses or sicknesses or anything like that, it's not killing it. And so it's moving through and then it just wreaks havoc on your whole digestive system. And then the wrong bacteria gets into the wrong places that causes SIBO and like all these different things. So it was a hot mess the whole time thinking I'm really healthy.
What do you do now that's different?
You know, I eat seasonally food, so eating like soups and stews and things that are really enzymatic. Like I've had to really work to replenish my hydrochloric acid in my stomach. So like with lots of spices that have enzymes, I've taken hydrochloric acid to like get that boost. Lots of probiotics, but yeah, I would say just shifting my understanding around food and really focusing on warm cooked meals, like one pot, simple to digest meals, no raw, like no cold, damp smoothies, things like that. And maybe in the summer, like I'll have that a little bit of that. But even like my constitution and Ayurveda and yours too, like our constitutions are not meant for that. That's more of like those foods are actually good for like kapha dosha, which we both are not that.
None at all. Not even a little bit. That is so interesting too. I mean, Ayurveda is a super ancient practice that's still practiced for a reason. Obviously, it has worked long enough to stay in practice. It's also really interesting to me because once I realized what was going on, I knew I had a problem. And I was attempting to address it by doing the things that I thought were healthy, that were the things I would have recommended to someone having digestive problems or feeling sick or having any sort of infection. And the things that all of my extensive research had told me and all of the weird dogmatic new age programming had told me. And it was totally by chance, totally by intuitive, random, shamanic Googling.
Wait, well, it totally froze and paused. Will you go back to what you started saying after shamanic Googling?
Yes. I happened upon an interview with someone who I was interested in listening to for a totally different reason. I was not trying to find out anything about diet. I just wanted to hear what this person had to say.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that they had been hospitalized suddenly for a really bad case of kidney stones, and that they had no idea. They should have been totally healthy. This person had personal trainers and had been vegan for 4 years and was having spinach smoothies every morning with a handful of almonds and strawberries and oxalic acid content. Maybe that's what's going on. And I started looking into it, and I was born with low bilirubin anyways. So I was born jaundice baby. I was predisposed to an underdeveloped liver and like low bile production. They had to take me back and cook me more. When I was 4 days old, I went back to the hospital and they put me in an incubator because I was premature. So my whole life, I have had that going on, and I had no idea. I thought I was being so conscious and healthy. I had no idea the choices I was making were playing to that weakness that I inherently have. And so I started researching it a little bit more, and it started making so much sense. All these phantom pains and symptoms that have been going on for years, all of these weird things in totally different parts of my body that I never would have guessed were related to gallbladder, liver stuff, pancreas stuff, was in any way related. I mean, I thought that I was sustaining muscular injury. And as soon as I switched my diet, like within a week or two of cutting these things out of my diet, my muscles didn't hurt anymore. My ligaments didn't hurt anymore. I realized these things I thought were like long-term damaging injuries from being an acrobat had more to do with what was going on in my liver and my gallbladder than anything else. And it was really enlightening and really interesting. And I cut everything out of my diet except for basically oatmeal with a lot of butter in it, because I realized I needed super duper high calcium, because if you have too much oxalic acid crystallizing in these organs that are supposed to be able to process everything that you're taking into your body, it'll bind to the calcium in your body. It'll like start leaching it out if you don't have high enough levels of calcium coming in your diet for it to bond to. And I mean, I imagine that's why women end up with a lot of osteoporosis during menopause and things like that. And it was amazing because I felt the difference when I was consciously no more raw, no more chocolate, no more cacao in my coffee, which I was living on. I lived on chocolate and kale. Like that's it. And nut butter. Like that's what I ate. And I cut all those things out. And all of a sudden my joints didn't hurt. And I mean, it might be psychosomatic, but I really feel like I could feel all the places in my body that had been leached of calcium filling back up with calcium. And it blew my mind. And it's also really interesting because I've been learning a lot about my genealogy, and I am basically 100% Celtic, some Native American, but even that line was intermixed with Celtic. And they basically ate warm cooked animal products and oats. Like that's it. So I've basically just been eating oatmeal with a lot of butter in it for many months. and my mom's got some stuff going on similarly, and we're together right now. So she and I have been able to do it together, which has been like super supportive, and she's been really helpful. And we just, make jokes about it, but like we eat a lot of oatmeal. I got goats so that I can like do my own goat milk thing. Yogurt. I went really hard into yogurt because where I live, there's a local dairy. The cows that give me my yogurt are my neighbors.
Yes.
So I'm eating a lot of really high fat, good local yogurt and oats because that's what my ancestors ate and it worked for them. And it's really interesting. I would love to have this kind of conversation with people who have a more diverse ancestry to find out if they've had that experience too.
Absolutely. And I am so with you. I think, looking into like your blood type and your blood type diet, your ancestry, where you're living right now, like what the climate is and what's local to your current environment, and like what your actual ancestors ate, not like one generation ago, but like long term. Because I agree, like I'm I'm half German, half Cuban, which both animal products. I'm also blood type O blood. And that's the type of blood that is not supposed to be vegan. Like,
At all.
we don't come from close to the equator, you know? If you're in like a tropical environment and you are close to the equator and it's warm, it makes sense to eat a lot of fruit and smoothies and things that are colder. Like, it makes a lot of sense. So really figuring that out. And you know, that is one thing too with studying Ayurveda. I was following this like Ayurvedic diet, but not applying it to like current day culture reality and like how much, you know, how different it is. I'm not a sage on a mountain meditating all day, getting downloads of information. I'm very much like a householder. I have to work, I have to pay rent, I have to do things, I have to be in the world. And so trying to live off this pure sattvic, yogic, Ayurvedic diet of like khichdi and like steamed vegetables all day, which is awesome. Steamed vegetables are great, but like subsisting off it completely, it really, really depleted me. And then thinking about it, like, I'm not from India. Like, I don't have an ounce of India in me except for my love of of the information and the culture there. Like, it's not in my blood. And so to be eating this way and living this certain way, you know, it's more about taking the concepts of this practice and applying it to life now.
What would be your guidance? Like, how do we tune into our body and start figuring that out?
It takes a bit of dropping back and being less hypervigilant on what things appear to be, starting to drop back into your body and your feeling sense and your intuition of like that first voice before the like scientific data and all that stuff drops in. And like, what is your body actually craving? What, like, if you really feel into it, like, do you feel that you need nourishment? Do you feel that you need cleansing? Like, but is it the programming? So it's a lot to sort through. But I think the first step is really dropping back from what looks sparkly and the way to do it from outside and trying to get back inside and really trying to deepen your connection to yourself and what your body needs. Super important. And I think that goes with exercise too, of like, we're in this culture where we exercise, like women's bodies are very different than men's bodies too. And so a lot of this research is done with men and like the keto or paleo or whatever. But we're cyclical beings. We cycle through a whole month, which is a whole nother podcast episode. Yeah. But just briefly, like realizing that we need different things during different periods of the month. And like after bleeding up until ovulation, like we have more energy, we can eat lighter, we have more energy to work out hard. After ovulation, we actually need far more nourishment, we need more rest, we need more gentle exercise, things like that. And so really tuning into the cycles of your body, what your body needs, stop pushing yourself so hard, and like start kind of thinking in a more holistic way, like you said, about your ancestors, your blood type, the season that you're in, what's local to you right now, like you're eating the local dairy, understanding where your food is coming from, how to get food that is of the earth, less processed, less trending. Are you being marketed to? Take a step back from that. Like,
ooh, that's a really good self-check question. Are you being marketing to? Is this person trying to sell you a tea?
Yeah,
that's really
totally. And like all these super fancy products, and I think, you know, they have their place, and it's fun to get exciting things and fancy things, but ultimately things should be more simple. I think simple of the earth, simple. Simple.
You are listening to a bite-sized excerpt of the podcast. perfect snack time for your mind.